Hi guys, welcome back to another technique tip from myself, Sai at William Street Gym and Box On North. This is something that I mention a lot in classes when we're doing boxing, pad work, shadow boxing and bag work, and even sometimes when we're doing our partner drills. Just wanted to take time to explain a little bit more so you can listen to it while you're sitting there. I'm going to use a bit of a football team analogy, a soccer team analogy. Hopefully that helps and it doesn't get more confusing than I intended to. One of the things that I think if you're training boxing to spar and fight, is important to understand. And even if you're just doing boxing for fitness, you can actually make your training a little bit more challenging and rewarding. Is thinking about what I usually say in class is the in-betweens of the combinations and the technique you're throwing. In sort of classic boxing terms, we talk about preparation, delivery and recovery in punching, which is setting up before you throw your combination, delivering the combination and then recovery. So if you think about yourself as one person, as an entire soccer team, you have your offense, your midfield and your defense. Now, all of those things have to operate well within a team to win a game. Same with yourself when you're boxing. If all you have is offense and no defense, then when you attack and the attack is not successful, even if it is successful, when the opponent counter strikes or goes on the offensive, then you're left exposed. So one thing to think about when you're training is how you're setting up your punches. So when you're walking up to your partner, you're doing your partner drills or your power work or your shadow boxing, is to not simply just walk up, put your hands up, start punching. So being in your guard and your stance, having some head movement, maybe faking a little bit, feinting, moving, then throwing your combination. Making sure you're throwing it out of a good stance with your guard, your hands set in a good position. So you're not just walking up straight-legged, chin up in the air, hands down, and then just getting into your guard only before you punch. So setting up your combination. Then obviously the combination part or the technique part or the defense or any of that part, we already know that. We need to make sure that's technically correct. When you're training in the gym, you have to think, this is one of the lowest stress level things you can do for your technique. So if you're shadow boxing, you're not hitting anything, you're usually not as fatigued as, let's say, when you're sparring or fighting. No one's hitting you back, so your technique should be as close to perfect as possible. So I often talk about breakdown in your technique level. At that level, you should be as close to being able to do your technique as 100% correct. As the intensity goes up and other external factors affect it, that's going to have your technique broken down. So obviously, when you're fighting, your technique's not always going to be as perfect as if you're doing it on pads or shadow boxing, because you're getting tired, you're getting hit, there's adrenaline, a lot of different factors. So when we're doing technique work in class, it should be spot on. So we've done the preparation phase, the delivery is your actual technique, and then the recovery. So what that means is you've thrown your combination, what do you do next? Okay, you don't just stand there or walk around out of your stance until your partner puts the pads up again, or the next time you shoot on the bag or in shadow boxing. So what's our recovery? Do I throw my punches, move my head and be prepared? Do I throw my punches and exit out either to the right, to the left or straight back? Do I throw my punches, tighten up my guard and get planted and ready to block and counter? So these are the things you need to think about to make sure your training is more effective, because anyone can throw punches, but what happens if those punches don't stop your opponent and they throw shots back? You want to be in an optimum position to defend and counter, or throw your shots, be out of the way so that when they throw back at you, it doesn't hit you, and you can hit again from another effective angle. Because people always talk about angles. That can be a little bit confusing, but think about not always going in straight in and out, sometimes throwing your combinations, moving your head and coming offline, coming in from a different angle and making your opponent guess. So one of the other analogies I often use is when we hit the floor to ceiling ball. If the ball's just sitting there, it's very easy to hit. If the ball's already moving, it's a lot harder to hit it, right? That's what makes it challenging. So we want to use that footwork and head movement as a proactive thing, not a reactive thing. So I'm not punching, stopping, and then when they hit, I think about moving my head. You're throwing your shots, moving your head, making yourself a hard target to hit. If you do that at training as a force or habit, over time it's going to pay real dividends. So when you're in the ring, your punches are your goal kickers, your strikers in soccer. They're throwing your shots. But all your footwork, all your defensive moves, that's the rest of your team. That's your goalkeeper, your midfield. They're the ones that set up your shots and also stop you from getting hurt. Do that when you do technique practice to get better at sparring and fighting, but also it's obviously harder work moving your head, moving your feet after you throw your combos than just standing still. So remember, whether or not you want to get just fit doing boxing or become a better boxer, doing things right will get you closer to your goals than just standing there banging away your punches. There's a lot more to it than just that. So try it. If that's something that you're still struggling to understand, pull me up and ask me about it. I'll help you. Ask Benny, Ton, Jump, any of the other trainers. We'll be happy to help you with that. Good luck. And again, like I said, if you have any questions, shoot us a message or just grab us in class.